was all related to, you know, everything comes together. So here's how, you know, it came together that my own family is still nothing but German heritage. The children I had, I mean, say the 5 children I had have nothing but German in their heritage as far back as I know anything. Which doesn't make them any better than anybody else. It's just the idea of, you know, that's what we are.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is a community that has a long, rich German tradition.
Yes.
And
so, like I said, I don't mean to imply that we are any better than anybody else, but somehow or other...
probably wouldn't change a thing, would you?
Well, I'd like for more to get more education. I think the more education you can get, the better, the richer your life is. It's not... We've gotten to think that everybody has to go to college, and that's not my... I think all teachers realize that, and in the Bible, don't you agree, we see that we read there that we don't all have the same talents. Some have this or that talent, some have others, and I think the important thing as children are growing up is to get some sense of their own talent and their work, it's rather sad when someone is already in the 20s and doesn't know what they want to do with their life. There's so many different... I'm amazed at all the occupations that people have today. And that has to be because of the number of people on this earth by this time. Back when, well, Austin was, according to the 1920 census, I was 3 years old then, they were between 34 and 35,000. What my grandparents could earn and what they needed to buy and so on is entirely different from what exists today. All you have to do is read.
I'm sure that they would scratch their heads and say, what do you mean you need a portable telephone?
Yeah.
1, what's a telephone?
Yeah.
2, what's a wireless telephone?
Well, my mother's mother never had a telephone. The grandparents, Willie did, I'm pretty sure.
Wasn't everybody's phone back early a party line?
Yes. In fact, we had a party line for a while when we were first married. And people next door also had the same number. It's 498J. And my phone number of my parents was 4526. Then later ours here was changed to Madison 5. Da-da-da-da, I've forgotten the number. Or it might have been the 5391 that I still have. My phone number is 625-5391. No, it's all of these things are necessary to keep everybody occupied with a living. I mean to say, if all we needed was, well,
food, clothing, and shelter.
Just the least bit of things, you know. In other words, I remember my grandmother saying, you really don't have to have but 2 dresses. You be wearing one and wash the other. Well, of course, that sounds silly, but if it's down to it, what do people in the countries where things are not so developed and they don't have all we have.
Well, it would be interesting to look at the 1920 census and say, okay, there's in Austin in 1920 there was 40,000 people, you say?
I said between 34 and 35,000.
Okay, so there's 35,000 people. How many different types of occupations existed back then? You had farmers, you had doctors,
Yes.
you had people that sewed clothes, maybe, you know, but
People made hats.
mm-hmm. But you didn't necessarily have, again, television repairmen, because
No.
televisions didn't exist.
Right.
But you know, it would be interesting to look at it and say how many different occupations there were at that time.
Well, and I'm not saying, I wouldn't deny anyone a college education if they had the interest and had the ability to learn what is generally taught.
I'm
In other words,
losing my battery. Hold that thought. Okay.
we were married less than a year, and at the time that the house next to my mother-in-law's house came up for sale, and we had not found any place up to that time to move to. We were living in a part of the house that had been, of her house, that had been moved to the back of the lot on the corner of Mill and Castell Street. And we had no kitchen there, so the first year I was working in the kitchen of the big house and helping with the preparation of meals, and we had at times as many as 10 at the table. Some people had rooms there, or some were there temporarily to convalesce from some illness. Various reasons why people were living there in this big house. But then my mother-in-law bought the house next door. This was we were told was built in 1846. I don't recall who told us that, but it seems that it's logical, and that an early drawing of the city showing various houses, you can clearly see which house this was. The drawing shows it to be a little different insofar as that more porch was added, and as time goes on, people do want to make improvements on a house.